Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to talk about one interesting fact that always been bothering me lately about the X-Men universe, especially when it comes to like the recent brand new glorious type of storylines, which is the Dawn of X, and also mainly just all the new X-Men men like reboot story slash whole franchise being stronger. And the main point that I would like to talk about would be just well symbolicism and how view someone like Apocalypse to be like someone fitting to black ancestry and how he honestly made his way to be a part of the winter part of the whole council itself. Because remember, if I remember correctly, all of the science not science, but all of the silence council that was created when Krakoa was, getting started for all mutants to inhabit the place slash being, because remember, Krakoa is not per se 100% a place, but more of a living like individual or a living presence in a sense, because he's still a mutant slash Krakoa itself is still a mutant in its own rights, even though its land is still technically a mutant. Kind of like the same thing within humans. If I had to make a quick call back, because in humans, if I had to make a quick callback slash reference, there was one Inhuman that actually was nothing but a head or whatever in the ground, or just some type of living being itself, and the only power that he or she had, most likely he had, was just being a like teleporting door or a door to wherever you need to be. Not where you want to be, but mostly where you need to be at certain places in time, and etc. But aside from that reference, I'm going to get deeper into my whole video thoughts about Apocalypse and what how I view his like symbolicism in the winter part of the council. And if anyone's confused about, there being parts of the Silence Council, long story short, the Silence Council of Krakoa slash, in the X-Men universe, in the with the mutants, it works like this. Basically, you have the summer part, then you have winter, then you have fall slash autumn, and then you have basically like just spring. I think his most likely is spring, because yeah, it's like, long story short, all the four everyday seasons put together in one council. The differences are is more of symbolicism towards every each group. Some are comprised, if I remember correctly, some are comprised of Nightcrawler and Jean Grey to, I think, 50-50 Mystique. Then there is fall, if I remember correctly. I think it's fall or autumn. That part would be Emma Frost, um, let me see, Shaw, and some other. I forgot who his name was, sadly, but he's honestly a powerful mutant himself as well too. I just forgot his name a little bit because he's an OG mutant. Um, Winter, of course, is comprising of Magneto and Charles, and then Apocalypse. Now, we already know the symbolicism between Magneto and Charles being MLK and Magneto being Malcolm X, but Apocalypse, no one has ever dared to talk about Apocalypse like that, really. I mean, we talked about it as a threat, we talked about it as a villain, but never talked about him symbolically. And I feel like to this point, like aside from just pro-blackness and excellence in the X-Men universe, I feel like since we got to this point to where Apocalypse has fully joined, he does deserve like a breakdown of what he is in a sense. Spring, long story short, I forgot who is a part of Spring, but yeah, they're like, I feel like Spring is like mainly the younger mutants or basically modernized young mutants in a sense. But aside from all of that, I'm going to like just jump into Apocalypse. My view on Apocalypse is I feel like just like how Charles Xavier is like MLK and Magneto's being Malcolm X, I strongly feel like Apocalypse, long story short, since he comprised and also just came from like Egypt, I strongly feel like he's a representation of death slash Anubis, the mythology of Anubis himself. Now, the only reason why I make that as an argument is because of the fact that, well, honestly, for one, he is basically walking death. There has been like many YouTubers and many like different types of like like social media that point out the fact that Apocalypse could essentially wipe out all the X-Men and wipe out like anyone that he wanted per se 100% because that's how goddamn powerful he is. Even though he has a wide array of powers or a wide array of ways to manipulate his own powers and body structure to also just being rawly powerful, it's just the fact that all that rawness and energy, he can just take out anybody that he wants, and there's not even a goddamn thing they can do about it. I mean, maybe a reality warper can take him all or like wipe him out, maybe. But aside from that, yeah, like we're essentially dealing with a god technically in a sense. So that's why I see him as Anubis slash the Egyptian mythology god of death. And aside from that, I also see him that way because, well, with or side of the fact that it's black culture or a part of black culture, is also the fact that, well, Apocalypse old saying or his like beliefs of is always the survival of the fittest all the time, 24/7. And I feel like honestly, it's always been like that with him. It's always been like survival of the fittest. I mean, yeah, like I said before, just a minute ago, he can literally destroy and kill anyone that he wants to, but he just chooses not to because his whole thing or beliefs of honestly testing a race or testing a group of people to see if the or beings, group of people or group of beings that are actually powerful enough to actually, like survive to the fittest or have a foothold to always surviving and striving, or it be a way where it's like, well, you're just going to have to most likely just kill him off and just not worthy. And the third thing that he sees, how he sees his like survival of the fittest would be just the fact that, well, if they're that strong enough to kill Apocalypse, then he deserves to die basically, or deserves to basically get his butt whooped right there and then. Then again, I feel like in a sense that's what Apocalypse is in a sense. Even even though like honestly it's a long shot a little bit in some ways to put Apocalypse in the category of like death slash Anubis. It's still effective. Well, he's still an interesting character, and on top of that, it just feels like he's that strong and powerful to prove himself to being that powerful, like Anubis, and on top of that, have like the tendencies of Anubis as well too, because one, raw power. Two is also because of the fact that if he chooses not to use that raw power for just pure dominance, the only thing that he uses his power slash like I guess his ideology is trying to teach people a lesson or trying to influence people to learn a little bit of his lesson. That, or if not that, just test people all together to see if they're strong enough to actually survive, like whatever, like trial that he's trying to bring people with his ideology and just his beliefs. Because if those weren't the case, then again, one, he could wipe anybody out, and two was also the fact that he wouldn't be always all the time making other mutants or other people basically become his own like four horsemen over and over again, and letting the four horsemen like fight his own battles, or just letting them fight all together, honestly, instead of him stepping in and fight. I mean, yes, we've seen Apocalypse fight and throw hands here and there a little bit, but he ain't. I feel like he ain't never per se fight in a sense. If y'all get what I'm saying, I mean, like he never per se like. I feel like he never per se like stepped in firsthand and whooped somebody. I think he only stepped in and whooped somebody when he needed to or when he has to, but he never like tried to lift a finger that much unless it's just him and he doesn't have his four horsemen. But I will say this though, again, aside from me stating that, I've seen and everybody else seen how strong he is, and on top of that, how he throw hands. I just feel like he sends his four horsemen more out on the battlefield before he steps in most of the time, if that's his luxury or if that's his choice in the sense. I mean, if I had to make another good example about me even pointing out with his relationship between the four horsemen and him himself, it's just the fact that, well, one, he was chilling with Moira. If I remember her name correctly, he was chilling with Moira McTaggart while she was resting somewhere around his lair in like the House of, I think it was either the Powers or the House of X storylines. And then while he was chilling doing that, honestly, he had his four horsemen all over again, which was Wolverine and three other mutants that actually were his four horsemen again. The only difference is it's just they are good because essentially they're all working together because they were all mixed up in a bunch of mess. And then and like the end of that said storyline, this is where I say the fact of, yes, four horsemen always be sent in first hand, always, if that's Apocalypse's choice 24/7. But when it comes to him choosing to fight or have to fight, he literally chose to fight because by the end of the day, he literally took on a strong, overpowered, like mechanical, like thing or automaton, which that's similar to a Sentinel, which was Nimrod, and he just basically fought the strongest like version of Nimrod in this one like universe slash one future. And again, even though he kind of took a L a little bit, he still showed why he's honestly one of the most strongest and powerful like mutants of all time altogether. And it's befitting him as well too, because honestly, that's another piece of evidence right there that I can point out why I say he reminds me of Anubis is, well, one, like I said before, black mythology slash like back history, and two is also because of the fact of he's in the winter chair seat. I mean, look at the other two people that's only in the winter chair seat. They're honestly founding people, which is like Charles Xavier and honestly Magneto, which are both again Malcolm X and MLK just sitting together with, well, essentially Anubis in a sense. Because by the end of the day, Apocalypse, he's honestly known, but at the same time, I feel like he's so known and so goddamn powerful, even per se a god slash demigod, you might as well put him on like a pedestal close to a mythological like being god like Anubis, at least arguably. But thank you for watching this video. Please leave a like if you liked the video and enjoyed it, and please also leave comments if you know you agree or disagree, and also what are your thoughts on what apocalypse possibly symbolizes, besides or with the fact of him symbolizing just survival of the fittest or people being strongest. Thank you and bye.